Most High Christ. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Thumb. Yahweh Shemar Thumb Bashim Yahshua. Priest and Officer 1000 Yadai. I'm holding down the class until 12 show General Mahaiman gets here. Make sure y'all type in your questions so General Mahaiman, you know what I mean, can break them down and answer your questions. Now, if I could, Salakia. Shalom, sir. Lord Christ. Come on, sir. I just started. Cut, okay. Cut, okay. The water. Cut, the water, sir. Lord Christ. Second, sir?
I said general comment.
Con, no sweat. Yeah, make sure y'all type your questions in. You know what I mean? For 12 show General Mahaiman. Should be arriving very shortly. You know, this is the Monday night scripture breakdown class. Tonight, you know what I mean, General's going to go over, you know what I mean, Martin Luther King and prove, you know what I mean, that Martin Luther King was not a righteous leader for blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians.
Right.
We have been lied to as the Lord's chosen people. Into revering and worshiping men like Martin Luther King, we have to realize that those brothers failed.
Right.
They failed our people. He even said it. We're going to go into it tonight. On how he said that he feared that he integrated his people into a burning house. He said, my dream has turned into a nightmare. Alawapanya, Barak, Yahweh Shimmy Shah Barakatah.
Y'all about y'all smile something about shooting out shy, clap it up. You know, appreciate it up. All right. Get it popping. Quick and hot. Any questions? I'll take them.
Brother had a question.
You can't get the towel wet.
Brother said, Shalom, Yahweh Shimmy Shah Barakatah. Salakia, if I may, sir, what is the breakdown on Simeon being the Lord's battle axe? I'm unsure of the book, chapter, and verse.
It's in the in Deuteronomy where they're an instrument of cruelty. And also with that, you need to go throughout history. Like the Bible says, the earth shall help the woman. All throughout history in Mesopotamia, just like you'll find the icon or the image of a bunch of grapes all throughout Mesopotamia. You'll find unicorns, the symbol of a unicorn used and spoken about. You'll, of course, find lions, and you will find the battle axe used as a symbol. The saint symbol is another symbol that was used all throughout, the Middle East and Mesopotamia, and that's where you can find it in archaeology. The scripture that refers to it is an instrument of cruelty. Everyone understands, all right? You want to find that in Genesis, the 49th chapter. Good to go. An instrument is, of course, a weapon. Cruelty is a weapon that is not swift, like a sword. Go research, you want to research Queen, what's her name? Queen Mary, Queen of Scots. Well, Queen Elizabeth hired someone special to come and behead her. She was Queen Elizabeth's cousin. Now, the axeman, the one who did beheadings at that time, used an axe, and it was cruel, and it would hack you in pieces, and it did not make a swift cut, right? It was an instrument of cruelty. But Queen Elizabeth had to be put to death because she committed treason against the English throne. So instead, Queen Elizabeth hired a man from France to come in with a sword to kill Mary, Queen of Scots, as opposed to the axe, which was commonly known to be an instrument of cruelty in execution. And a sword was considered more merciful because it made a quicker blow. all right, in a more sleek and elegant blow. The battle axe, the tribe of Simeon, the so-called Dominicans. Everyone understands. Next, I appreciate it. Next.
I had a question too, sir.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Ezekiel, the 28th chapter. When it talks about, in Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, when it talks about the prince of Tyrus, and when the Lord is speaking about them, is that talking about the Canaanites or the original Phoenicians, or is that talking about the oppressor?
Okay, talking about it mean when you're breaking it down today prophetically, you absolutely use that to speak about our oppressor today, because the same spirit in Tyre and Zidon is the spirit in our oppressor today, right? Meaning in the country, in the building of the empire and the oppression of the empire. Now, as far as the exact people, I would have to ask Commander General Yohana. I can't recall. You can look and see what the Bible dictionary says about who those people were. They, of course, were not Edomites at that time. There was some other heathen race. I want to say they were somehow Assyrian, but I can't recall. All right. So I can ask Commander General Yohana, or you look it up yourself, and it might jog my memory to something he taught me in the past. All right. Next. Warrior right here, officer.
I had a question, sir.
Go ahead.
I understand that the Bible is not a magical book, it's a practical book.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you explain miracles, sir?
Miracles are indeed very practical. Give me the precept where Christ prayed for Lazarus to be healed. Let's start with that, all right? It's in the New Testament, of course, when Christ prayed, and he said, Father, I ask thee this prayer for them, for I know that thou hearest me. You want to get that first, and then give me the next question, and while I have this drink, all right? Next one.
Carl. Brother said, Shalom Alawam, man, I got a general breakdown of 2 Ezra 1 and verse 33 to 35.
Okay, hang on to that. Also, you can use John 9 and 1, where the disciples said, who was born blind? This man, who did sin that this man was born blind? This man or his parents? Christ said, neither was he born blind because his parents sinned or because he sinned, but he was born blind that the glory of God might be manifest in him. Let me give it to you in a nutshell for time's sake. Miracles happen to prove who is with God. That's the point. Miracles are very practical because they serve a direct purpose. They prove that God is on your side. That's the point. The point is, many times the prophets of God have to go out and teach people who hate everything we say. Why? Because the things that we say negatively affect the pleasure in your life. You don't want to obey us because obeying us means you cannot have sex the way you want. You cannot end your marriage when you want. You cannot marry who you want and when you want. You can't eat whatever you want. You can't have the orgasm whenever you want. You can't talk to people however you want to talk to them. You can't treat people however you want to treat them. So because of that, inevitably, people hate the men of God and they hate what we teach. So the men who God approves of must have proof that what they say is authorized by God and that they have the authority to say it. And if we have the authority to say it, then you must obey it. The miracle is the evidence that we need to help the unbelievers. There are certain people out there that don't require miracles. I thank the Most High, under Commander General Yohana, I have never needed a miracle in the truth. It's not something that I even think about or have ever thought about when I was a young man. Yet and still, I have seen Commanding General Yohana do miracles in front of people who did not believe like me. I've seen it. Do you understand? And every time it happens, I go, Barakatah Yahweh, Wa Yahushai. I see that happened. That was amazing. I could never do it. And that is proof that he is absolutely sent by God to serve Christ. That's the point of them. Let me give you another precept. It was just on the tip of my tongue. What Christ said was a miracle he provided. Curse you, generation that seek a sign. You shall receive no sign but the sign of Jonah. Then there's people that will say, well, the only way that we will come follow Christ is if he gives us a miracle. And then, of course, Christ said, you're not getting any miracle except for what Jonah did. What did Jonah do? Jonah prophesied that you were going to die in 40 days if you didn't change. That's your sign. Do you understand? Miracles serve the same purpose. People who are not strong, sometimes they need them. And Christ can provide them in many cases. Please believe he can. The UPK can provide them in the spirit of Christ. Please believe it's true. Most of you already know. All right? And let me tell you something else. Don't discount the miracles that you'll see every day, but you're dull-witted. And because of your dull wit, you don't notice that this is a miracle. Me being in the truth is a miracle. It's a goddamn miracle. And I hate when someone finds me in the world on Facebook or social media and they cannot believe I'm doing this. It's like it's a miracle. Many of you, the life that you live, you don't get high. That's a miracle. It's a flat out miracle that you don't get high. How is it even possible? Who else do you know that doesn't get high? That's in the world. Your mother, your father, your school teachers, they were drug addicts. All of your authority figures, everyone you look up to, even Martin Luther King was a drug addict. Who in the hell do you know who has performed this miracle that was performed in you? And there are so many miracles like that. Now, some people are awake enough to notice them. And if they do, they will say, Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai. My existence, the life in my lungs is a miracle because I should be dead. Some people who are more awake will notice. For the more dim-witted, the Lord can do something more powerful than that. Some people who are extremely dim, he's not going to show you anything because you don't deserve it. You understand? You can give them those precepts if you need, all right? Just tell them where they are and read a second or two of them. Go ahead. You have it, please. Go ahead. Yeah, pick any ones that I just paraphrased just now.
I'll start with John 9:1.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of John, chapter 9, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. Verse 2.
You can skip down to what he said.
Come. I think it says it right here.
Go ahead.
And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Verse 3. Jesus answered, neither have this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him.
Keep going.
Verse 4. I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day.
Mm-hmm.
The night cometh, when no man can work.
The work is the work he was about to perform, which is perform this miracle. And he needed them to see it because there was a dark time coming. And he needed them to remember this when the darkness came. Keep going. Read to what he did, please.
Verse 5. As long as I am in
skip down to what he did.
Come.
No sweat.
Come. Verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle.
So right then, at that point, he explained to them why he was about to do this. That he was doing this so that they could see what he could do before he left. Why? So that in the dark time, they could realize that they were truly following the Messiah that the prophets of God were waiting for, because it would help them when their faith was in question. It would help them when their faith began to get weak, because once he was killed, taken away and then killed, their faith was going to be broken. Their faith was going to be challenged. And so he performed this miracle for them to know about it and for the other people that would find out about it. You understand? So he went down, he spit on the ground in dirt, which of course made clay. Like if you put some water in dirt, you can make clay. Well, he spit on the ground and made clay, or made mud to be exact, right? He made mud. Keep going.
And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay.
And he takes the clay, or what you would call today mud, and he puts the mud on the eyes of the blind man that was made from his spit and dirt on the ground. Keep going.
Verse 7. And said unto him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. Mm-hmm. He went his way therefore and washed and came seeing.
And then he could see, brother. He went and washed that mud or that clay off his eyes, and then he could see. Everyone understands. That was a very practical purpose doing that. You understand? He needed to do that for the disciples. It was for them. Everybody understands. Question. You had your hand up? You dying? Go ahead.
General Cabal, put in the comments, and I actually have this story. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to go into it tonight because you brought it up. There was this disgusting pastor that spit in his hands and wiped it all over a brother's face.
Yeah, that was terrible. The brother sent me the video, Rock. I mean, every time I thought I've seen it all, I realized I have not. It's some terrible, terrible things going on in that Christian church. If anyone has not seen the video, we'll just play it in a minute, all right? We'll go into it in a second. We'll play the video. You can put it up on the screen if you want also, all right? That, of course, is not what that homosexual did to emasculate that black man up on that stage, right? To punk him and make him his boy and to prep him for sexual advances, which is what that pastor did that for. And that's why he wanted to spit right into his hand and rub it all on that big black man who knew he was standing there to get spit on. As I'm watching the video, I play the damn video. As I'm playing the video, this cat is up there while the pastor is doing the gayest speech in the world about miracles. The brother is standing there knowing he's getting ready to get spit on. He's gonna rub this spit on me. Come on, get it together. He's trying to, get some courage up to take this spit because he knows he must be spit on today, and that's why he's standing there. Play the video quickly whenever you have it. I'll get the question while I'm waiting on it. What was the next question? You said it earlier, right?
So brother wanted a general breakdown of 2nd Ezra chapter 1, verse 33 through 35.
Someone read the video, please. Go ahead and play.
But you hit. And this is where most people would not face Jesus anymore.
What most people would do is turn away. What I'm telling you is just as he's physically standing here, knowing what's coming. God's saying, can you physically and spiritually and emotionally be able to stand? When getting the vision or receiving it might get nasty. I'm going to say it in a point just like that. Receiving vision from God might get nasty. You mean, God, I just bought in crazy.
You can give me to and then rub it all over. And then that's that. All right. I got to move on. All right. We're good to go. Go ahead and play it. Okay, there you go. He's rubbing it all over his face. All right. Prepping him for sexual advances that are to come later. For those of you brothers that ever went to a black university or have you seen what black fraternities do or hazing that's done in all white fraternities. I mean, terrible hazing they're doing for those Masons. The Masons make you wear a dress and, kiss everybody in the mouth and pass an egg from one mouth to the mouth of 15 other men constantly, butt activities, always something with your butt. Taking your pants down in some way to get to your backside. All of these things are done to break down your natural barrier against homosexuality, so that when they finally ask you to put that penis in your mouth, you will have the faith in God to suck it. Your belief will be strong enough to suck that penis. Sometimes it gets nasty. That's the point of all of that. All right. If you want just a general breakdown, you should definitely take it out to the street. And also, these Christian churches have so many little things going on in there that you don't know about that is happening in that video. That brother is somebody in that church that did something wrong. They maybe stole a little money, did something that might be worthy of calling the police or getting him kicked out. And he was told what he has to do to not have any repercussions. So he stands up there and he's going to be used by God for God's greater glory. And to get this spit, all over hawk spit in his mouth and face, and to dare compare that to the miracle of God is absolutely disgusting and will be punished. Whoever does something like that is going to be punished. To compare that to Christ healing this man from blindness. You understand again about the practical part? This brother was blind, and Christ didn't hawk spit into his hand and rub it on his face. Christ spit into the ground, made clay, and then put the clay on his eyes, and then he went and washed the clay off, and he could see. Is this man blind? Is he curing him from blindness? Is there a miracle even happening? What is the miracle? There is no miracle. It has no practical purpose, which is to your question. It's simply done to weaken his masculinity, just like Greek fraternities and the Alpha Phi Alpha and Omega Psi Phi. All of them are getting little boys who need fathers, or who need to fit in and who are away from home, and they need a group of people to feel stronger in. And they get those boys, and most of them are nerds and have been molested, and they get them in that college, and they say, if you want to be one of us, get down on your knees and put a dildo in your mouth, or put this dildo between your legs, or crack an egg in your mouth and then put it in your classmate's mouth just by, letting it drip in his mouth. And y'all pass the egg back and forth. Am I making these things up? These are real. Every last one of them. You brothers in those fraternities listening, call in and tell everybody about all the gay things you did to get in that fraternity while you laugh at this brother in this church. Call in if you were in a black Greek fraternity, which already is ridiculous, the name I just called it, the black Greek fraternity. Call in and tell everybody about the dildo you put between your butt cheeks, and that you passed the egg, and all of the spankings you got. Tell everyone about your naked butt spankings. While you laugh at this brother, he's doing it for the same reason you did it. He wants to stay in that church. He has to make some type of penance or something, and he's willing to give up his manhood for it. Where in the UPK, we build up your masculinity. A brother asked me a question a few days ago. He said, what does this precept mean? Well, Christ said, a woman ought to cover her head, for she is the image and glory of the man. But a man ought not to cover his head, for he is the image and glory of God. A man is not made to cower down. And anyone that is teaching men should not teach them to take a little nastiness sometime. Brother, you need to get right. So come here, let me spit in your face, because this makes you a better man, for me to hawk spit in your goddamn face. Now, it doesn't make you a better man to get for someone to spit in your face, but it does make the person who spit in your face feel like he's a better man than you. You understand? Daniela.
Yeah, sir. What you're saying is so heavy, right? Because even when you like watching the video, as he goes to spit in his hand, the brother turns around like like you said earlier, he gave him. This is like something like he's paying him back for or something.
It's a penny. It's a punishment that this cat feels he has to take for some reason. When he needs to knock all of the teeth out of that faggot, excuse me, man of the LGBTQ community. He needs to knock all of his teeth out in church, and half of the church would probably applaud. Can you imagine the people he's molested in that church to do something like that? What he's done to the children in that church? He's teaching your sons that sometimes it gets nasty. That's what he's doing in there. And you call us a cult. Please. You going to church and letting somebody spit in your face, and you come around us and act like we're crazy? And you act like we're crazy. When in your church, someone hawks spits in his hand and rubs it all over your husband. And your husband sits there and takes it. A man ought not to cover his head, for he is the image and glory of God. In the UPK, we teach men to not be abused, not to get bullied, not to cower down under someone. You're taught to be soldiers in here, man. Now if you want to go to church, that's up to you. There's plenty of spitting there for you as well. All right, next. Break the precept down for the brother. Where is it at?
Con. 2nd Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 33. Thus saith the Almighty Lord, your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind doeth stubble.
What kind of scotch is this, Danielle?
That's the two same doors.
I'm doing a good job of this. Is this the regular doers?
MLK.
Yikes. It must just be me. Maybe it's something wrong. It's just so wonderful to me, I guess. Go ahead. So what's the context of this? Is there a specific question?
Carl, he wanted a general breakdown of 2nd Ezra 1 and 33.
Go up above it to 31. Also, you're going to need your Martin Luther King scriptures. You want to have those ready to rock all your dreams. And your one about the where idol worship comes from in the Apocrypha. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 15, I believe it is. You need that. And I'm going to explain the worship of Martin Luther King to you. And I'm going to lay it down as flat as I possibly can. It should be very succinct in your mind. If you want to understand why is there so much worship of Martin Luther King, seeing that black people are being killed by the cops, abused in the projects and dying, and yet we worship this man as if he led us to some great progress. When clearly your life, you have not experienced that progress. You haven't experienced the dream that he talked about. You were molested as a child. That's what happened to you. With all of the marching and the goddamn voting and the civil rights, your father was on crack. So you might wonder sometime, well, what are we worshiping this cat for so much? Why is it every year we got to thank him and thank him and thank him? And of course, he's not the only civil rights leader. My God, Malcolm X was a civil rights leader. What's the other cat in Harlem? There's a ton of them. I forget the names of the cats. I don't even remember the names of them because who in the hell ever talks about it? Because there's so many of them, but this is the one they pick and say he embodies what it means to be black and to believe in civil rights. And I'll explain to you why they used him, and that'll be that for you, all right? Read 2 verses above where you wanted to read from. Go ahead.
Khan, sir. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 31.
Mm-hmm.
When ye offer unto me, I will turn my face from you. For your solemn feast days, your new moons, and your circumcisions have I forsaken.
Meaning this, that the Most High God is absolutely vexed with our rejection of him. So now he's going to reject us. And that's the life that you've lived, man. I'm fine, warrior. That's the life that you've lived. Like now, you want God to bless your meals. And you want to thank God and pray to him so you can get a new job. And pray to God in some jail cell somewhere and tell him, this time I'm going to give my life over to God. I'm finally going to change. Everybody's praying that prayer in the back of a courthouse everywhere, on some jail cell. Everybody is praying that now God will finally help me because I'm ready finally to change. And God is saying, I was ready for you to change years ago, but you weren't ready. So now I'm not ready for you. I don't want your prayers. I don't want you to come back to me. I've asked you to come back to me for years. You rejected me. Now, of course, when your life is in calamity, it's time for you to change. Well, he doesn't want to hear it, right? He doesn't want to hear it. God is not your punk. You can't spit in his face. He's not your punk. You can't abuse him. Keep going.
Verse 32. I sent unto you my servants, the prophets, whom ye have taken and slain.
You understand that, Israel? That's talking to the nation of Israel, where God sent his prophets to the nation of Israel. And what did Israel do? Kill them. Killed every last one of them, and then finally killed someone who's greater than a prophet, our King Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai Mashiach of the tribe of Judah, of the nation of Israel. And finally they kill him too. Our people do not want a relationship with God. They have made that very, very clear. They want a relationship with Martin Luther King, Beyonce, Barack Obama, weed, drugs, pills, voting, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Greek fraternities, and lust itself. And mainly, they want a relationship with our oppressor above all things. But they do not want to get closer to God in any way. God sent his prophets and you killed them. And to this day, the Israelite school of UPK under commanding General Yohana goes out in the street, feeds the poor, tells you the one thing that no one tells you, which is the truth. And you hate us and call the police on us. And go and report us to the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law Center and sue us and do everything you can do to stop us from giving you what the preacher doesn't give you. The preacher spits in your face. You don't call the cops at all. We tell you the truth and you hate us. Nah, you don't want a relationship with God, so you won't ever get one. Continue.
And torn their bodies in pieces,
Mm-hmm.
whose blood I will require of your hands,
Mm-hmm.
saith the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 33. Thus saith the Almighty Lord, your house is desolate. I will cast you out as the wind do of stubble.
That's what the Most High said. Your house is desolate. Where are we reading from?
Second Ezra chapter 1 and verse.
This is the Most High saying that we were going to be relieved of our land, relieved of our habitation. Our house is destroyed, and he's going to just throw us out, which is what this precept is talking about. And it happened. So now we're here in Mexico, in Guatemala, in America, in Trinidad, when we should be in Jerusalem. We should be in the nation of Israel. We should be in the Garden of Eden. But we're not. We were cast out. Because really, it wasn't important enough for us to be there. We weren't willing to make the sacrifice of our own lust to be there. Continue.
Verse 34. And your children shall not be fruitful.
I pray you understand that. What does it mean when your children are not fruitful? Meaning you have children, but your children don't bring forth anything good, which is what you want when you have a child. You have a child, what's the point? The point of you having a child is so that this child can be born, he can grow, he can, strengthen the nation, strengthen his family, and bring honor to your name. But instead, you have a child that's the worst thing that ever happened to you. You have a child that kills the old ladies on your block, that shoots up the goddamn parties and the barbecues, that steals out of your purse. You have a little girl that's just a whore. That's the whore. The little girl whores with everyone she can find. Then she gets molested by your boyfriend. And you know what you say? You can't believe her because she's fast. She's a hoe. So it's like a circle. So because you're a terrible parent, your daughter is a whore. So then finally, when your boyfriend has sex with her along with everybody else, then you say, oh, she lying. She just fast. She wanted it. Our children are unfruitful to us. They're unprofitable to us, which is what unfruitful means. Continue.
For they have despised my commandment.
You get that, all right? They have despised my commandment, meaning we hate the law, which is what the whole thing is about, young brothers and sisters. Keeping the law. That's the entire thing. That's what God cannot stand about you. You don't want rules over you. You don't embrace authority. Some of you have oppositional defiance disorder. Alexa, what is oppositional defiance disorder?
According to Mayo Clinic, oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD, is a frequent and constant pattern of anger, irritability, arguing, disobedience, or cruelty toward parents and other authority figures by a child or teenager.
Thank you, Alexa. Alexa, stop. Some of you have that. And that's why you hate Commander General Yohana. Because you refuse to bow, to obey. You don't want to. Anytime someone is an authority figure, you have to go against it. You think you're Tupac, don't you? That's what you think. You think you are Tupac. You think I don't have to obey no man. I don't have to listen to nobody. And people like that, you know where they end up? In prison, listening to somebody every day. You're going to go to jail, they're going to tell you where to walk on this red line to get to here. Walk on this green line to get to the water fountain. Walk on this yellow line to get the child. You know who ends up there? People that don't want to listen to anybody. Then you're in jail and a cop is telling you when to go to sleep and when to eat and who lives with you. Because you have oppositional defiance disorder. You refuse to obey. You won't. That's why a lot of you dumbasses don't want to get vaccinated. That's the real reason. The real reason you don't want vaccination is because they're telling me to get vaccinated. You're telling me to do it. You're telling me what to do. You don't want anybody to tell you what to do. You should thank God for the white man. Because when Christ is in charge, freedom is over. There will be no more freedom. I was shot. That goddamn virus is multiplying and switching every day because for a vaccine to work at all, you need a threshold number of people to get it. That's why there's no polio, because your child gets a polio vaccine in school. All of you. Every last one of you. That's why there's no diphtheria. That's why these things are gone, because they don't ask you. They just say, if your child wants to go to school, you got to get this vaccination, and you don't know a damn thing about it. You call it getting his shots. You don't know what that is. You're so effing dumb. But your shots are about 25 vaccines. Look it up. They're mandated. You don't get a choice. Alexa, how many vaccinations are mandated in America that children have to take?
Here's something I found on the web. According to nutrition.com, as of DEC 2000, 40 vaccinations are currently mandated for children.
Alexa, can you repeat that?
Here's something I found on the web. According to nutrition.com, as of DEC 2000, 40 vaccinations are currently mandated for children in the immunization schedule.
Alexa, stop. Here's the real reason. You're getting vaccinated all the time. Everybody has been vaccinated. It's 40 of them in the year 2000. 40. All right? The real reason is because I ain't doing what nobody tell me to do. I ain't gonna do it. You are sick. When Christ returns, freedom is gone. And so will disease be gone. And murder, and stealing, and lying, and adultery, and all of the things that you do with your precious freedom. Freedom is over when Christ returns. Bitch, you're going to do what you're told. When I say that, I'm not speaking about every sisters in the truth. I'm talking about women in the world who don't want to do it. Drug dealer, you're going to be killed. Thief, you're going to have your head chopped off. Man who sleeps with another man's woman, you're going to be killed. You're going to have your head chopped off. You're going to obey. Nobody is going to care about what you want and what you think and what you believe in. That is American. This false freedom that everyone thinks they have and they should exercise. Freedom is over when God sends our king to rule with a rod of iron. I pray everyone understands. Because you reject the law. You don't want it. You don't want to be told who you can have sex with. You think that's none of their business, don't you? I know that's what you think about the 1 year rule. I know. You hear the 1 year rule and you go, well, who are they to tell me who I can have sex with? The nigga in charge. That's who. That's who we are. And we'll tell you where you put your penis. We'll tell her when to open her legs and when to shut them. You better thank God that General Yohana doesn't let me sit in the room and watch it happen. Because I'd sit in there and make sure that it is loving and sweet. None of that freaky garbage. Those are General Johanna's daughters. And you better get in there and make sweet love to them. I got to move on. Next question. I think I broke that down. Do you need more? Okay, you got to have more.
This question was at 35. So.
Go ahead.
Your houses I will give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me shall yet believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them.
Ain't that something? Right? And so what happened? This is also in Ezekiel, when give me Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. When Ezekiel said, if I would have came unto another people, they would have heard me. You know what that is, Isaiah? That's in the book of Ezekiel 3:9. Meaning the Most High God is going to give your land to someone else. And that people is not going to reject me. What happened in the land of Assyria or northern Israel? Another nation came in and they just became the Jews. They became the Israelites, and that was that. He put heathens in our land, and those heathens embraced the God of the land. They embraced him, which is why the woman at the well in John 22 was there serving God, worshiping God, and Christ had to tell her, there will come a time when you will neither in this land or in Jerusalem serve God, for salvation is of the Jews. Why did he say that? Because heathens were in our land, and they just stepped into being Israelites, and they wanted to be Israelites. You don't want to be an Israelite. You want to be African American. And let me give you brothers from the tribe of Issachar something too. I got calls about this. That Mexican flag is not accepted in the UPK. And stop wearing that stupid Mexican flag, or else the tribe of Judah should start wearing an American flag. And the Trinidadian, the Benjamites, should start wearing a Trinidadian flag and a Jamaican flag. And the Puerto Ricans should start wearing their flag. And then once all of us have our own flags, what will happen? Who wants to be a genius and tell me? You got it in the car? Go ahead. Then we'll all fight each other, because all of us have a different flag. The Mexican flag is the flag of the Spaniards, of the Spanish, who ruled Mexico and then for Cinco de Mayo broke away from Spain. They're still white people. They're all white. They're not the ancient Aztecs, which you think, I'm assuming you think the Aztecs are like Shaka Zulu to black people, or the African people that black people love because they were a mighty empire. The Aztecs were not a mighty empire. They were swift work for the Spanish. Swift. Wiped them all the hell out and then put an Aztec symbol on the Mexican flag so you peasants could run and worship the Spanish. The Mexican flag has nothing to do with God's chosen people, the tribe of Issachar. It is the flag of your oppressor, just like the American flag is a group of people who were British, but then did what? On July 4th, broke off from the British Empire and now started America with white people at the top, niggers and spicks at the bottom. And you have Mexico with white people at the top and spicks at the bottom. It is no different than the American flag at all. Red, white, and green are not acceptable colors, nor are any colors acceptable. Should the tribe of Judah wear a red, black, and green flag? Power to the people, power for everybody. No, you shouldn't do that, because the tribe of Judah does not associate with the red, black, and green flag. We don't have colors that are separate from our brothers. We're one nation, and this nation is not divided by flags. Does everyone understand? Now, I pray you hear me on this. Any feeling you have of loving the Mexican flag is because you're a slave. That's where that comes from. It's slavery. It's the same reason that Jay-Z has an American flag on that stupid hat, and black people love the American flag. Why? Because that's your country. You're a slave. It's not your country. Mexico is not your country. It's the country of white people who set up that country. And guess who? Guess what? They're in charge of it right now. If you want to look up the president of Mexico for the last 1,000 billion years, go look it up. Find the current white man who is in charge of Mexico. I haven't even looked it up, But I haven't. This is not my first day on this planet. There's a heathen in charge of Trinidad. There's a heathen in charge of every Israelite country. There's a heathen in charge of Haiti. Haiti. You look at Haiti like Toussaint Overture, and it's the blackest place in the world. Haiti is ruled by the East Indians. That's who rules Haiti, not Haitians. Not Haitians. So if you're looking at the Haitian flag like you want to tattoo it on your mind, you're a sucker and a slave. Oh, lo and behold. Surprise. I'm assuming it's the president of Mexico. Right, no problem. Yeah, go look. Give me the president of Haiti. That one, the Jake one, is killed. He got the Jake that was in charge of Haiti. So-called in charge. They put a bullet in his goddamn head because all of the East Indians are the actual people that rule Haiti, and the Chinese rule most of Jamaica. And you can just go on and on and on. I don't have to teach this. Just go home, go to Mexico, and see what heathens run that country. Not Mexicans, not La Raza, not them, not the tribe of Issachar. And the word La Raza means the race of people. And Mexico, to be Mexican, you can be Chinese and be Mexican. You could be African and still be Mexican. How would you be Chinese and be Mexican? Blow my mind, somebody. Please. You just go get born in Mexico and now you would be Mexican. That's it. That's all. You would just be a Chinese man who has a store in Mexico, and now your kids are Mexicans. The same way that Charisse Theron became South African. Charisse Theron, put her up on the screen. She's South African. Why? Because she was born in South Africa, and she's as white as your goddamn nightmares. Everybody understands, right? You get the point. Read the precept real fast, please.
Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 9. As an adamant harder than flint, have I made thy forehead.
Start at verse 6.
Start at 6. Go ahead.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 6. Not too many people of a strange speech and hard language, whose words thou canst not understand.
Meaning God didn't go to these strange people of a hard speech, meaning foreigners, people who are not our people. He didn't go to them. Keep going.
But to the house of Slavic, surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee.
If the Lord went to the white people in charge of Mexico, to the Africans that every man from the tribe of Judah thinks is the original man, or to the Chinese and the East Indians ruling the West Indies, if he told them they were black and Hispanic, they would love it. If he told them that they were the chosen people of God, they would have accepted it. They would have. They wouldn't have fought it. Stupid Haile Selassie thought he was Jesus. He thought he was Solomon. He didn't accept it. Meanwhile, the UPK tells you that you are in the lineage of King David, the lineage of Solomon. Black people, you hate us for saying that. You hate us for saying that Jesus Christ was in your family line. Meanwhile, the Ethiopians loved it. They loved being related to Solomon, and they are not related to Solomon. They're stinking heathens. But if you tell them they're Israelites, they congratulate you. They love it. Captain. Jesus, how did I forget? How did I forget? You tell the Arabs, Arab thinks that he is living in 6,000 years ago, the Middle East right now. He thinks that he is a prophet from the past on a camel right here at the gas station. Everyone loves being biblical and looking at their family as being biblical except for black people. Black people want to be Mexican and American and Puerto Rican, and that's that. Not in this house. This house is not divided. This house is one nation. That's it. One nation with 12 tribes. We have the same exact culture. Our culture is not different. Everything we do is the same. Everyone understands. Next. Is that it or not with this question? Next question.
Brother wanted a breakdown of Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 10.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 32, and verse 10. Before the thunder goeth lightning, and before a shamefaced man shall go favor.
You want me to break this down, right? Okay, before the thunder goeth lightning, meaning if you see what happens before thunder is lightning, which is once again science in the Bible. If you need some more proof that God, who is the creator of heaven and earth, also understands science. And think about how long ago this was written. And scientists have proved this correct today. Before the thunder goeth lightning, meaning there's a thunderstorm outside, right? You're going to see lightning first, and then you'll hear thunder. It'll be boom. It'll be like this. Kaboom. But the lightning is first. Why? Because light travels faster than sound. So in a thunderstorm, you're going to see lightning strike, and then right after it, you will hear the boom of thunder. That's science. And there it is in the Bible, right? Now, the Lord is using that comparison for something else. Read it from the top.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 32, verse 10. Before the thunder goeth lightning, and before a shamefaced man shall go favor.
And before, meaning in front of a shamefaced man, will go favor, meaning this brother who is shamefaced, before that, he will have favor, meaning people will like him. Keep reading.
Verse 11. Rise up betimes, and be not the last, but get thee home without delay.
Let me just break this down for you. This that's going on to the whole. All of these scriptures are about. Where's this at? Proverbs, Ecclesiasticus? Ecclesiasticus, right? A lot of these precepts are what we lack in the Black and Hispanic community. These scriptures are telling you how to be sophisticated, how to be civil. Many of you right here in Philadelphia, you are going to fight over that parking space in the snow. You better get ready for it. Get ready for the inevitable parking space battle, because it is coming. You are going to shovel out that snow, and then someone is going to park in that space, and then you are going to break all of their windows out of their car, and then they're going to break the windows out of your house, and then here we go as usual all the time. I was telling the brothers in California, they don't understand what that is, to have to be from a place where there's so little space, and even though there's no space and there's so many people, no one knows how to deal with each other, right? You live in a city, you live in a cramped place. You need to learn to be civilized, right? Because you don't have a lot of space, and you have to learn how to exist with everyone. But in the city, of course, we aren't taught how to be sophisticated, how to be civilized. And so you're going to fight over a Popeye sandwich, parking space, road rage. You drive on the damn highway every goddamn day, yet you cannot handle traffic. This is every day of your life, but yet you get in a road rage incident. Have you never been in traffic? Have you never been cut off before in traffic? Because that's what you act like. You act like you just drive and no one ever gets in your way, because you're unable to handle being around people, or you are cutting people off, even though you know you don't like to be cut off. So you get in some road rage incident because although you live around people, you are not taught civility. In the Israelite school of UPK, you can also learn to be civilized. And these precepts teach civility, right? If you want to be liked by people, stop being so proud. People don't like you because you're an arrogant bastard. And that's why people don't like you. In your mind, people don't like you because they hating on you. In your mind, people hate you because I guess you're so great, which is hard to understand, right? If you think about it, they hate you because you're so great. I try to wrap my head around that. It's difficult. Because you would think all of your greatness would make so many allies. You're so great. But in your head, they hating on me. They don't want me to be rich. They hating everything I do. Maybe people hate you because you're not likable. Do you get my point? Your proud face, your arrogance makes people not like you. That might be at least empowering, because if people are hating you because you're so great, then you can't fix that, because you can't fix everyone on the planet, but you can fix yourself. So if your proud arrogance is making people hate you, then that's absolutely something in your power to correct. Everyone understands. Next.
Brother wanted to break down 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 11. 1 Corinthians 1 and 11 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 Corinthians 11 and 10. Like.
Go ahead.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 10. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels.
That part right there? Okay, a woman ought to have power. What does power on her head means? Authority. What does that mean? Meaning someone rules her. And when a woman goes to pray, let me try to make it nice and flat for you, all right? You're a woman and you want God to answer your prayers. There are things in life that women want, right? You want the health and the welfare of your children. You want to succeed at something that you're doing. But you might think that in succeeding, the way I succeed is to supersede a man. That's kind of what you have to do. If you want to be a success, you got to show these men that you're better than them. You got to show people that not only can you do what a man does, you can do it better than a man. Who's ever heard that term before? That's saying everyone, right? Who says that? Where did that come from? White women. That's how white women think. White women, because they're just like their men, they are animals. And they're not they're competing with men. They're not trying to be with men, white men. They're trying to supersede white men. And white men are trying to supersede white women. And they're fighting one another. Of course, until you come up and then they join together to kill you. But every day, white women and white men are fighting each other. They call it the battle of the sexes. And many black women, when they try to do something in life, they think they have to do it against their husband, against men. That's not how you're going to succeed, baby girl. That's how you're going to fail. You're not white. You're not going to succeed by that. When you go to pray to God, for God to give you the things that you want, God wants to make sure that when you're talking to him, you're obeying your man first. So he wants to see authority on your head. How does a woman show that there is authority on her head? By covering her head. She knows, I'm about to pray. God, I need your help. Oh, I want you to know that I obey my husband before I come to you. I obey, if you're unmarried, I obey my camp leader. If you're unmarried, I obey my father. So now when I go to ask God for a prayer, he knows I'm not trying to supersede the chain of command. God knows that I'm someone in order with my father, in order with my husband, in order with my camp leader. So I'm not jumping over the power. The power is on me. I have their power on me. I accept a man's authority over me. So now in doing that, the angels can hear your prayer. As opposed to you going to God because you don't have to listen to no man. So now you go to God, which is what you bitches in the Christian church are doing. That's what you're doing. You're going to God. Why? Because you ain't got to listen to no man. I have a personal relationship with Jesus. I go to God myself. You're praying to be in opposition with your man. You're trying to go over his head. So you go straight to God. And God is looking at you like, don't come to me if you're disrespecting him. That's the point of this precept. Everyone understands. Keep going. Go ahead, please.
Or next question.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Unless there's questions about that, which of course I will take. In the back.
Yes, sir. Coming up. I mean, sir, so
See me one more time, Daniela? Go ahead.
you know how like Moses, right? He don't pray to the Lord. Yeah, tons of prophets that pray to God.
So what?
But in Moses' case, like, he prayed to the Lord and asked the Most High to not destroy the Israelites.
Right.
Like, did the Lord hear him right away, or did it take him like time for that prayer to go up? And then the Lord made his own decision.
Okay, there's no precept that says how long it took for the Lord to decide not to kill Israelites. I can't biblically prove how long it took, which of course is the case in many questions about time. Like, time is something that men want, but God doesn't care about. Go ask Esdras. The Esdras was constantly when. And God said, what? It is not. And the same question was given by Peter. When? Christ said, it is not to you to know times that the Most High has in his power. So time is something that men care about because our life is short, but the day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. So what difference does it goddamn make to him? You understand? That's not in the Bible, so I can't give you an answer on that, all right? Next.
Con, sir. Brother had a question. He said, Salah, y'all, can you break down Habakkuk 2 and 1 through 2?
Quickly.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch, to see what he will say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Verse 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that read.
Okay, you got to read it one more time. Give me one verse up.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower.
It sounds familiar for some reason. I will set me upon my watch. Go ahead. Read one more verse up.
Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 17. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations?
This is why
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and will watch to see what he will say unto me.
That's a prophet of God waiting to hear the Most High's answer to his question. And he's using the metaphor of a watchman who stays up at night to perform his guard duty, right? You got a nation of people. There's someone guarding the wall at night, and they separate the times that each person guards by watches. First watch, second watch, third watch. All right? Continue.
And what I shall answer when I am reproved.
When he is corrected. Keep going.
Verse 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables.
A table is like, a big thing of wood or stone or something that you can write on. Mainly not stone, but like a book, like a big thing that you could write on for everyone to see. All right, a sign. That would be the perfect way to understand it. A sign. Go ahead.
That he may run that readeth.
That he may run. So meaning when he reads what God said, then he can go into action. Because he knows this came from God. The prophet of God wrote it down. Here's the sign. So when he reads it, he's straight to doing what God said to do on that sign. Anything else? Done. Next. Go ahead. Say again? Salaki, let's do Martin Luther King. All right. As everyone knows, today is Martin Luther King's birthday. Most of you have grown up your entire life worshiping Martin Luther King. If you haven't been in the truth for a long time, idolizing him. Show me the statue down there in Washington, D.C. that they have of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King is a god. He is literally an idol that is worshipped. Someone give me the precept in first Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 15. Martin Luther King died a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but about 50 years ago or something like that. And after that, slowly in progression, he became a god. And he's a god today, which is why there is a holiday erected in his honor, because he has become a god. Just like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, all of these people are worshiped now and given holidays, holy days in their honor. This is the statue of Martin Luther King in Washington, D.C. So you can go down to D.C. and worship the God Martin Luther King. All right, many of you know about him. Have you heard the stories about him? Mainly the March on Washington and how he was killed and how you should reverence him and worship him and really just spend today thinking about him. Just having him on your mind because he is your God. Give me Wisdom of Solomon, then I'll explain. And after I do Wisdom of Solomon, I want you to put Tony the Tiger up on the screen. All right, go ahead. Read Wisdom of Solomon. I'm sorry, leave this here for now. Go ahead.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 14. For his soul pleased the Lord. Therefore, hasted he to take him away from among the wicked.
Is this the right one? This is about idol worship? Bear with me. Wisdom of Solomon. No, 15. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 15. Go ahead.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon.
Read 14.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 14. For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
Meaning there are certain people, right, who were born because of the vain glory of men. That's Martin Luther King and men like him. Who was Martin Luther King? The son of a Southern preacher who was an aristocrat in the South. Someone bred up to rule black people. Martin Luther King didn't come up poor and suffering. He came up the father of a prominent preacher who had the most prominent church in Atlanta and was raised to be a prominent preacher. Went to the finest schools that black people could go to at that time, joined the finest organizations, and he was born for his father's vanity because his father thought that he was some great big wig and now his son would be someone of prominence. And because of that, his son is dead. I'll read it one more time.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 14. For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world.
They what?
Entered into the world.
They what?
Entered into the world.
Because his father, who was some famous Southern preacher, thought he would have a son and make his son his heir and to be a famous Southern preacher. Because of vanity, he came into the world. Keep going.
And therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
Say that one more time.
And therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
One more time.
And therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
Yeah, that's what happens, young brothers and sisters, right? Because you're so vain and arrogant and believe that everybody should listen to you. Everybody should take your hawk spit in their face. You believe everyone should worship you. And that's why you're dead. And his life was brought to an end. He didn't live to a ripe old age and die on a bed with all of his worshipers around him. He died in a hotel room and on a hotel room balcony, and he's gone, and that's that. Why? Because he was born to vanity, glory, arrogance. If it's not talking about him, then you tell me who. Here's the statue right here. All right? So we just read that he's going to come into the world vain And that's why he's going to die. I just read it just now. Read that last part one more time, because I still believe no one hears what the hell I'm saying. That last part.
Go
ahead.
And therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
Keep going.
Verse 15. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning.
For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, meaning your son dies and it's untimely. So you're sad because of it. Keep going.
When he hath made an image of this child.
When he hath done what?
Made an image of this child.
When he hath done what?
Made an image of his child.
Then he makes an image of his child. Keep going.
Soon taken away.
Soon taken away. Gone too soon. Keep going.
Now honor him as a god.
Now does what?
Honor him as a god.
Now does what?
Now honor him as a god.
Keep going.
Which was then a dead man.
Which was a dead man. A bullet ended the whole situation. And now an image of him has been erected, and now he's a god. Why? Because of his untimely death. And because you loved him so much. So now you made him a god. So now the actual man has become more than a man. He's not a man anymore. He's this thing in your brain because he's gone too soon and you loved him so much. I'm going to explain the worship of Martin Luther King to you very quickly, all right? First, I want you to give me Martin Luther King speaking about the March on Washington. Do you have that, Warrior? Yes, play that, please, first. All right. Martin Luther King, he's mainly famous. Most of us were not around at that time or alive at that time, most of us. But we all have seen the clips. Black girls and white girls and free at last and free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Everyone has seen it. I mean, they can't stop playing it. They shove it down your throat. Question. What was the March on Washington about? But only say this if you don't know this breakdown. You cannot know the breakdown. What does everyone say it was about? What was the point? Sawanai, what does everyone say about the March on Washington? Why were they marching? You know the breakdown. You come to class a lot. Give her a hand. Okay. People in the world say that the March on Washington was for equality. That's what they all say. It was for equality. He marched for civil rights. That was the March on Washington. That is a lie. The March on Washington was never about equality. It was never about civil rights ever. All of those people that marched, and there were people, brother, that came from Alabama and walked to Washington, D.C. on foot. A lot of them, when they walked to Alabama, they walked from Alabama. Well, you got to show me a map and show me what's under Washington, D.C. Is it Mississippi, Alabama? I don't know. But just go on a map and just go start at D.C. and go south. And look at the most southern place. And they walked from there. And after the march was over, they just stayed in D.C. because they had walked all the way there. And that's why Washington, D.C. became Chocolate City. At one time, it was the most black place in America because everyone who was in the South walked up from the South to the March on Washington. And at the end of it, they said, F it, we already here. We might as well just stay. And then Washington, D.C. became Chocolate City. You can go Google this or ask Alexa. You know I will. Everyone understands. All right. So people came, everyone came. Why did they come? They did not walk all of those miles for some ideal of equality or some thought of, civil rights. If you don't believe me, let's ask Martin Luther King. Whenever you have it, let me know. Give him a second. All right.
Oh, and you can't turn on.
Say again now?
I can play the audio. Won't let me play the short.
Go ahead and play it. Say again now? Go ahead. No sweat. Play it for everyone, please.
One of the answers, it seems to me, is a guarantee.
Is that the microphone?
Annual
Is the microphone is on?
guaranteed minimum income for all people and for all families of our country. It seems to me that the civil rights movement must now begin to organize for the guaranteed annual income, begin to organize people all over our country, mobilize forces so that we can bring.
This is not the video.
of our nation.
It's a good one. I'll show it to you. All right, 1 second. That's a good one, but it's not as succinct as the other one, right? I'll show it to you real fast. MLK March on Washington for jobs. Let me just give you this, all right? Hey, bubbity. Where is this at? One might have it. It's when he's like in a church. It's in color as well. That's how you can know the one you found it. It's in color. There's 1,000 of them right here you can pull up, right? It's in color. It has like a church window behind his head. Let me just put interview with Martin Luther King. I have to move on for time's sake, God.
So I got there and got this.
What does it say?
I think it's right here. It says that didn't know the March on Washington history, and he goes into how it was about jobs.
Give it to the brother, or just play it real fast. You can play it yourself from the phone right there if you got it.
Come on,
1963, 250,000 people gathered in the nation's capital. March on Washington for jobs and freedom. The march rallied Americans.
Stop right there. Okay, that was the name of the march. The March on Washington was the March for Jobs and Freedom. And then Martin Luther King, when he was interviewed, he went to black churches all throughout the South, and he told them, "March to Washington for jobs, for jobs, for jobs." And this at this time are black people who are so poor and who don't have jobs. And so in their mind, they were going to Washington to protest so that they could get jobs. They wanted jobs because that's a real necessity. That's for real. Whatever this nonsense is in your mind about equality, that doesn't pay rent or mortgages or feed kids. But they needed employment so that they could feed their children. And so Martin Luther King went to all of these churches. Do you have it where he's saying it? Is this the colored one? Where it's in a colored?
This is the color one. I'm not sure.
It's right in there. It's damn near at the beginning. Go check it out. Where he's going to say, listen, come on to march to D.C. so we can get jobs. And black people listened to him and said, all right, we coming to Washington, D.C. to get jobs. It was never about equality. It was never about this ideal in your mind of blacks and whites coming together. It was because black people were unemployed and they wanted to get employment. And Martin Luther King told them that if they came to Washington, if they walked there from Alabama, then he would get them jobs. Who funded the March on Washington? The United Auto Workers Union. Ask Alexa at your home. The United Auto Workers Union funded the entire march. They gave them the money so they could get down there, and Martin Luther King was going to press so that they could have more auto workers in Detroit. More auto workers, which was the point of the entire thing. Now, what does that do? That contradicts the reality of the man, contradicts with your idea of him now. Your idea of him is that he marched for equality so we could all hold hands. Holding hands doesn't stop your belly from being hungry. Holding hands with white people doesn't stop you from being evicted, because the white hand has a job and you don't. Black people would have never came to DC for equality. They would have never done that. They came to DC to get a job, to be able to work at all of these factories making cars, Cadillacs and Buicks. They needed employment, and they weren't being hired because they were black. And so they marched for jobs, not some fantasy that all of us think about now, but for something that people actually need. Everyone understands. Give me the other video. What's the other thing? Martin Luther King. I fear that I might have, you know what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
That was a quote, but I have him say his dream is a nightmare.
Okay, go ahead and play it or do your thing.
My poor little children, one day live in a nation where they will not be took. I must confess that.
Stop.
That
This is the
dream
video.
that I had that-
This is the one where he says it's a job. See the church? It's in color and the church thing behind his head. The church thing. In that video is where he says it's for jobs. This video was taken after the March on Washington, where he says that the march was about jobs. And of course, now it became something else. That wasn't his intent. His intent was not to go to DC and fight for some, equality in your mind. His intent was to go to DC to get black people jobs working in the auto industry, which was thriving at that time. Thriving. Keep going.
Day as a unicorns turned into a nightmare.
Rewind a little bit. Rewind a little bit.
Lose hope. That I had that day as a unicorns turned into
You got to
a
rewind a
nightmare.
little more.
Now, I must confess that that dream that I had that day as a unicorns turned into a nightmare.
Stop.
Now, I'm not.
That's the real man. That's not what you have in your mind. That's not the God. This is after. You see it's in color, right? And the March on Washington is in black and white. What does that tell you? That this is after the March on Washington, after TVs finally were made in color. The March on Washington is in black and white. This is after the March on Washington. I fear that my dream has turned into a nightmare. What did Martin Luther King think about the March on Washington after it happened? He regretted it. It's here, right here on the screen. Play it again. Rewind so you can show him the black and white March on Washington. And then after it happened, when he's thinking about it and says, damn, I came here to get jobs. But this is the black and white. Play that. Go ahead. Come on.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day as a unicorns turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, And some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it's
Pause, bobbity, you dying. Hold up now. Some of the old optimism was what? What did he say? Huh? Superficial. Free up with one day, black people will hold hands. Dang, you know, as I think about that, I was being stupid. Some of the old optimism was superficial. Alexa, what does superficial mean?
The adjective superficial is usually defined as being at, on, or near the outer face, outside, or exterior boundary of a thing, outermost or uppermost layer or area.
Stop.
For more,
Alexa, stop. Alexa, what does optimism mean?
Optimism is usually defined as a disposition or tendency to look on the more favorable side of events or conditions.
Alexa, stop. So he looked on the good side on the surface. He had back when it was in black and white and 3 years ago, on the surface, he had optimism. He looked on the good side. But 3 or 4 years later, read that again. Play it again.
Over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments. And I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And
stop.
Realistic.
All right, everyone. Who else regretted the March on Washington? Who else was against the March on Washington? Who else thought it was a mistake? Raise your hands. Anyone? Sisters? Who was against the March on Washington? Sisters? Sis? Say again? No, not Malcolm X. Play it one more time.
The fact is, optimism was a little, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And
stop.
The realistic fact.
After the March on Washington, who else regretted it? Who thought it was a mistake? Sister. The sister in the back. Just try it. It's all right. Go ahead. The people is true, but there's someone else that thought years later that maybe he had a superficial optimism, meaning he was naive. He looked at things on the good side, on the surface, but really it turned into a nightmare. Did you hear him say that? So who thought the March on Washington, the dream, became a nightmare? Who thought that? Play the nightmare part. It's all right. Play that part about the nightmare. Now, are nightmares good? Say again?
No, I was saying no.
Hell no. Nightmares are bad. No one wants to have a damn nightmare, right? Are dreams good? Yes, dreams are good. Nightmares are bad, right? Go ahead and play it.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare.
Stop.
Now,
so Martin Luther King, when he thinks about the I Have a Dream speech, and that day he said that speech, after the speech, he now thinks it is a what? Sister. It's a nightmare. Who regrets the March on Washington? Sister. Give her a hand. It's right there. It's there on the screen. It's on YouTube. Just type in, does Martin Luther King regret the March on Washington? That's it. That's all you have to do now. He regretted it. He thought that dream now was a nightmare. That's what he said. But that's not our idea of Martin Luther King. Our idea is that this is great, and we should all have a superficial optimism. We should all just hug the murderer of our son in court, the way that Botham Jean, who was killed by a white cop, but then his mother and his brother went and hugged the white woman. They did that for Martin Luther King. But that was not really how Martin Luther King thought. He thought he was naive. He thought he made a mistake. That's what he thought. Now here we are continuing his mistake. Do you understand that your idea of Martin Luther King is not at all how he was? He looked at that march that day like, man, I was stupid. I had an optimism. I had a superficial optimism. That dream I had has now become a nightmare. That's what he thought. But now you make him a god and put a statue in D.C. and you continue his superficial, meaning on the surface, optimism. That wasn't him. Also, what do you think about Martin Luther King? That he was a man of God. Martin Luther King loved having orgies with white women. The UPK was saying this, brother, before I was in the truth. They was always saying, Commander General Yohana and other brothers were saying that there are tapes that one day they're going to make public. And in these tapes, he was having sex with white women in the Watergate Hotel, sniffing cocaine like Marion Barry. Sniffing cocaine, having orgies with white women. And then a few years ago, those tapes came out, just like Commander General Yana said back in the 90s. Please.
Sir. On January 6, 1964, FBI men installed microphones in King's Washington, D.C. hotel room and turned on the tape recorder. According to officials who heard the tapes, King that night betrayed his wife, Coretta.
Oh my God. That night, in your mind, Martin Luther King is like a man of God with Coretta Scott King. And he's a man of God, and he had a dream that white people and black people could come together. In reality, he thought he was stupid after that march, thought he made a mistake, and he was having sex with more white women than you. Martin Luther King would have had sex with a catcher's mitt. He would have had sex with anything and everything. He had no compunction, no standards at all. He was having sex with anything that walked in the door. And orgies. You understand me? Orgies, meaning him there, Jesse there, Abernathy there, all of them having sex in the same room. I am not exaggerating. I'm telling you what the FBI had him bugged. A lot of y'all, the FBI got you bugged too. You embarrass this school if you want. I'm gonna show the FBI something that they don't want to see. Don't embarrass this school. I pray you understand that. So anyway, moving on. The FBI has the hotels bugged because why? Because Martin Luther King was also a communist. He was a communist and a supporter of the Communist Party, and you can find the pictures with him in the meetings. So J. Edgar Hoover would bug his hotel. God damn, when he bugged that hotel, it was at Pornhub.com USA. Come on.
So, sir, when you say that he's a communist in the meeting, what kind of meeting was that?
Okay, the Communist Party at that time was like, how can I describe it? Russia was powerful. And Russia would influence radical organizations. And the civil rights movement was considered a radical organization at that time. And they would tell the black people, they would rile them up, tell them you should be having more rights, you should form unions. Remember, the hammer and the sickle was the symbol for the USSR, which was the coming together of the hammer, which was the industrial people, the people that made metal, right? Like you would hammer what's the thing you hammer on the dam? A big black thing, a blacksmith. He hammers metal. And a sickle was what you used in the farm to cut wheat. So it was the combining of the workers, of the metal workers and the field workers coming together. And so the Soviet Union, the Russians would influence black groups to come together and form unions of workers. And Martin Luther King was concerned with what? He just said it. What was his concern? You got to break free now. What was his concern? Jobs. So it was appealing when the Soviet Union or the Russians were bringing workers together to give them jobs. So he went to meetings, which meant the FBI had to consider him a threat because he knew that really they were being manipulated by the Russians. Do you understand? So because of that, they bugged their hotel room. They got pictures. They have pictures of, pull up a picture of Martin Luther King at the damn the Communist Party meeting. You can find this now on YouTube. And that's why his room was bugged. So they're trying to really see if he's talking to Russian agents, if he's a spy. And to find out he is just a pornography hero in that hotel. One thing I give him is he was not a homosexual like your preacher. Your preacher is a homosexual, spitting on men's faces. Martin, he liked tail. That much I'll give him. He was not a man of God, however. He was an orgy having white woman loving, filthy pervert. Please keep reading.
It says that night King betrayed his wife Coretta, not for the first or last time, shouting amid his most private activities, "I am effing for God, and I am not a Negro tonight."
Read that again. This is on the FBI file. We didn't write this. This is the transcript. Do you understand? All of you guys, when I came in the truth, I didn't have a cell phone to look up information. I had to go to the damn library down there in 30th Street or up there in New York. You can go look it up. This is the transcript as he is tearing up that white tail, putting hell on it, giving it to him. Coretta somewhere praying to Jesus. He in the hotel in Washington, putting that MLK rod in that woman. And this is what he's saying. Go ahead.
I'm effing for God.
I'm effing for God. Does that sound familiar? Who's been here tonight? Who's been here the whole class? Who's been here, Captain Ahmad? Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Oh, yeah. That's what the preacher said when he spit in his hand. He said, sometimes you got to be nasty to serve God. Martin Luther King said, I'm effing, F-U-C-K-ing, for God. That is on the transcript, meaning he is saying it aloud as he's having sex. He's effing for God. That is exactly what the man said who hawk spit in his hand and rubbed it on another man. MLK was getting nasty that night for God. Screamed it aloud in the room. Keep going.
And I'm not a Negro tonight.
And I'm not a Negro tonight, which is really in the heart of every civil rights leader. You think they're fighting, for you or for, for you to have a better life. There are some people that feel belittled by the fact that they can't shop at a white restaurant or shop at a white store or go live in a white neighborhood or have a white woman. They feel like they're too good to go to a black store. They shouldn't have to go shop in that black store because they're rich. Look up this cat who was a black millionaire in Wall Street. Jeffries, look him up, the first black millionaire on Wall Street. Jefferson. This cat was a millionaire, I think 10 years before the Civil War in New York. Do you think he wants to go to a black department store? Damn that. He made $2 million before the Civil War. Who has his name? First black millionaire. Come on, Captain Ariel. That sounds right. Jeremiah Hamilton. Read about it.
Jeremiah Hamilton, a Haitian immigrant, was Wall Street's first black millionaire, generating fortune through questionable and frequently unlawful techniques, such as defrauding insurance firms and profiting.
When was he rich? When did he do this?
He was rich So he was born 1806. He died 1875.
When was the Civil War? This is before the Civil War. Meaning, while black people in the South are in slavery, he has $3 million in New York on Wall Street. Now, people like him, you told him he had to go to a black store or a black supermarket or live in a black neighborhood. He's looking at you like, who in the hell are you talking to? I got $3 million in the 1815. People like him didn't like the restrictions of the what's that called? Segregation. So you know what they did? They went and fought for integration, not for you, but so they could have access to the riches of white society, which even with integration, you would never have access to because you can't afford it. Do you understand? Keep going.
Come. Washington, D.C. hotel room turned into a tape recorder. According to officials who heard the tapes, King that night betrayed his wife, Coretta. Not for first or last time, shouting. Amid his most private activities. I'm fucking for God.
Well, let's keep it clean if you don't mind. Let's just say I'm effing for God. This is a family class. I'm effing for God. Go ahead.
And I'm not a Negro tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Later that year, agents anonymously shipped King a highlight recording of Bug sex groans and party jokes.
So then later that year, they shipped him a tape that they had of him having this sex and screaming, I'm effing for God. They gave him a tape of it. Keep going.
Along with a letter warning him, you are done.
Along with a letter saying what?
You are done.
Saying what?
You are done.
And they gave him a tape of him having sex with white women. Saying, I'm not a Negro tonight. Why? Because he's having sex with a white girl. So I'm not a Negro tonight. They sent him a tape with a letter that says, you're done. Meaning, stop preaching. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop fighting for workers. Stop fighting for the Soviet Union. Stop getting black people all agitated. And they told him he had to stop. Keep going.
You are done. There is but one way for you. But better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation.
That was in the letter. You better take our one way out we're giving you before your filthy, abnormal self is laid bare for the nation. Meaning, we're going to tell everybody about this tape and we're going to let them hear it. So you better stop preaching. Now I have another question, but hold right there. Let me give you another famous speech. We're going to the mountaintop. I might not make it there with you, but we will see the promised land. What does everyone tell you the reason that he made that tape was for? Who knows? Hurry up. They say that Martin Luther King, he prophesied his own death. He knew he was going to die. So weeks or months before he died, he said, I might not make it there with you, but we will see the mountaintop. Keep reading.
Come. They called it the suicide package.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the scale of things you can do to potentially doom a movement, this beats walking down a street and telling the world, I'm proud of who I am. Negroes need to get serious.
Martin Luther King got this tape and knew that he had to stop. Because if he didn't stop, the FBI would release this tape. And so he went out that night that he got the tape at his speaking engagement and said, I might not make it there with you, but you will make it to the promised land. He didn't foresee his death. He knew that he had to stop his movement or else they would expose to everyone that he was a pervert. He was a sexual deviant. Just look it up on your phones when you go home tonight. That's all you got to do. I'm telling you who he really was. Now give me Tony the Tiger. You don't even have that, right? Give me Tony the Tiger. Put him up on the screen. Right, play a commercial with Tony the Tiger. And then this is my last one. If you can understand this, you can understand politics. You can understand manipulation. You can understand the mind of your oppressor, and you might just get free. Play it whenever you got it.
Huh?
Give me a real tiger. Just play it as soon as you got it. Go ahead, officer.
If I could, it was heavy too in that video where he was saying it was a nightmare and his optimism was superficial and all that. Right after that, he said we need to take like a more realistic approach to the whole situation.
Yeah.
So people, like he was saying, in love with the thought of him and not the actual man.
Yeah.
But really, he realized like we got to do something different. Like we got to do something more solid.
Yeah.
And that's what we go on the street and try to tell y'all exactly what he just was saying. Like he was saying that didn't work.
Yeah.
That was a terrible idea.
We try to make them practical, don't we? That's what we try to do.
Right.
We try to give black people a practical outlook on race relations and their relationship with our oppressor. But they hate us for it. Just play it. Go ahead.
To go all in and let your grade out.
Pause. That's Tony the Tiger, right? Now show me a real tiger. Tony, if you want to understand Martin Luther King, just understand Tony the Tiger, right? Tony the Tiger is not how tigers actually act, right? Tigers don't high five you and sell you Frosted Flakes, right? Tigers kill you. But your idea of tigers, like that young brother, the little kids, they all know Tony the Tiger. He's a loving, great tiger that wants to ride on his skateboard and eat cereal with you. Tony the Tiger is a tool of the cereal company. Do you understand? He's not real. That's a real tiger. They don't eat cereal. Do you get my point? I pray you do. Martin Luther King, your image of him is what the Democrats and the Republicans and the Americans use to get you deeper into slavery voluntarily. They don't have to chain you. They don't have to beat you. You will voluntarily serve them because of the advertising of Martin Luther King, because of the image they use to sell freedom, to sell America, to sell voting. But that image is as false as Tony the Tiger is, when real tigers are nothing like that. I pray you understand. With that, pass the class over to Priest Officer Daniela.
ISUPK security announcement. We, the ISUPK, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under command of General Johanna. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves with the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Taj, which is the commandment, Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Means 10th in Hebrew, my Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord give you, give to the Treasury Department. Priest fund, food offering for priests, not mandatory, whatever amount you would like. Becoming holy convocations, which is Purim, February 14th. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start to wear all black. Black boot, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, I imagine, which means stand, just the brothers. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, I imagine, Barak, Yahweh, Yajamatah, Sar, which means turn, sisters, I imagine, which means stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give the sisters one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, I imagine, Barak, Yahweh Shema Allah Shah. Yajamatah, class dismissed.
So I just seen something. I just